Gentleman from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To speak on the bill.
Proceed, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the body, before we vote on this more than $6 billion supplemental budget bill, and let me say that again, more than $6 billion. That's billion with a B. Let's keep in mind the last time we were here, we voted on a $413 million package. That's million with an M. I want everybody to think about this as we talk about what this body should or shouldn't have done 3 weeks ago. Anyone being honest knows we could have not anticipated billions of dollars in federal funding. And that to receive this level of funding, we were going to need to return here to the Capitol to work on this piece of legislation, no matter what had happened. 3 weeks ago, the other side of the aisle tried to say my side was playing politics by not including some of the amendments they proposed. The argument then was that if we took their proposals, we wouldn't need to be here today. And guess what, Mr. Speaker? We would have had to have been here today. All along, my side said this situation was changing by the day, by the hour, by the minute, including myself, over and over again. And we knew we would need to return to the Capitol, that we were committed to coming back to serve the people and do what needs to be done to help our state address this pandemic. And that's what we're doing here today. We're not playing politics, we're protecting the people. Instead of guessing what our state would need 3 weeks ago, we're now here dealing with the reality of what we have in front of us. Again, what was once a $413 million bill is just now shy of $6 billion in funding. $6 billion in funding. It's completely disingenuous for the other side to make the claim that they had the answers back in March, 3 weeks ago. It's a total fabrication to say my side wasn't doing everything possible to put our state in a position to address the needs of Missourians as we deal with the coronavirus. The truth is, we're here today at risk to our own personal health and well-being because it's our job. Our job, Mr. Speaker. We expect the first responders and healthcare workers to do their jobs, to be on the front line to perform critical duties and save lives. That's what we're here doing today. That's what we're here doing, the job of our constituents sent us here to do. A job that is critical to the well-being of the people we represent. A job that will hopefully give our state the funding necessary to protect Missourians for COVID-19. I know my side of the aisle isn't complaining about doing the job we were sent here to do. It's the other side of the aisle complaining that we have forced them to convene here today because we didn't accept their amendments 3 weeks ago. Forced to do the jobs that they were elected to do. The truth is, there is no action we could have taken 3 weeks ago that would have kept us from being here today. The truth is, the only people playing politics with this very serious issue are the ones on the other side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker. Instead of guessing what our state would have needed 3 weeks ago, we're here now dealing with the reality of what we have in front of us. Mr. Speaker, I'm not playing politics. I'm not the one running political ads based on coronavirus, COVID-19. I'm not the one attacking members in here because we didn't accept amendments 3 weeks ago, and I don't believe anybody on my side of the aisle is either. When can we put down our swords and work for the people? Work for the people that sent us up here to represent them. I'm tired, Mr. Speaker. The members of my caucus are tired. They're tired of being politically attacked by a virus that they didn't start. But they're definitely up here to take votes and work for the people that elected us. That's what we want to do, Mr. Speaker. And that's what I'd like to do moving forward. And I know my caucus members would also. And we'll be back here again, continuing the same rhetoric. And Mr. Speaker, I hope that we can get past that and do our jobs and fight for the Missourians the way we all see fit without running ads against the gentleman in the 94th district saying that he voted against funding, when in fact he voted for funding. Voted for funding and knew he was going to be back here in a couple weeks to vote for more funding. Mr. Speaker, if I could I inquire the gentleman from Jasper?
Does the gentleman from Jasper yield?
I do.
Proceed.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, what would have happened had we had accepted the amendments from the other side of the aisle? What would have happened to our budget? Walk me through that process, gentlemen.
Well, hypothetically, if we had accepted some of those amendments and the Senate had been here, which they weren't at the time, to pick up the bill and if they were to finally pass the bill, we would have risked unbalancing the budget in a variety of other ways. And so those amendments were rejected because in my prevailing thought was at the time that they were ill-conceived and fundamentally flawed in ways that would potentially unbalance the budget.
Because it's our duty, gentlemen, correct? As the budget chair, as the floor leader, as every elected representative in this chamber, our job is to balance the budget. Whether we have a crisis on our hand or not, constitutionally, we are still required to balance the budget.
That is correct, gentlemen.
That is correct, gentlemen. Gentlemen, that evening in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate, that was when they got to work. Would we have had the foresight of the billions of dollars that they would have worked on that evening?
Absolutely not. Certainly
Absolutely not.
No,
but the conversations that you and I had at the back of this chamber, what were those conversations? Those conversations were based on what are they going to do at the federal level. We know we're going to come back here. Did we not know we were going to come back here?
We anticipated that we would, yes.
Yeah, we knew we would have to come back and do more for the state of Missouri.
Yep. And there's a variety of ways that we could come back and be reactive. We passed the supplemental that day, sent it to the Senate in an effort to, if they needed to immediately take it up and pass it out and get some of the relief that we appropriated at that time, they could do that. We could then come back and pass a second supplemental budget and incorporate the federal dollars that were being appropriated for at that very moment when we stood on the House floor back on March 18th. And so there were a variety of ways. We did our level best, gentlemen, to put ourselves in a position to be as reactive as possible, to be as responsible as possible, to do our constitutional duty, which is to craft a balanced budget, to be reactive to the needs of the citizens of the state. And that's what we did. You know, we've been in conversation every day since then. This has been a around-the-clock job to try to incorporate these federal funds, work with the Senate, work with the governor to try to get this done. And here we are today. Obviously, it's much easier to be critical than it is to make the tough decisions that come along with governing. And I want to thank you for your efforts on this. And yeah, it's been a work in progress and collaborative. Absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Speaker, if I could continue speaking.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I want to move on. I want to move on with, like the rest of Missourians, I want to move on. I want to get through this terrible time that we're facing in our economy, in our paychecks. I don't know if anybody remembers what happened in 08 through 10. All of our pocketbooks, how hard it was to put food on the table. Guess what? The people where I live, Mr. Speaker, in Jefferson County, they don't care about your political ad. What they care about is how they're putting food on the table for their children back home. Not watching politicians in Jefferson City see who could be the best at saying, I told you so, I told you so. The people back home want results, and I'll come back here tomorrow, and I'll come back here next week, and the following week, and I don't even have to wear my mask, Mr. Speaker, because that's what I was elected to do, to come up here and do a job for the people, and that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate it.
Seeing no further discussion, gentleman from Jasper, you're recognized to read your motion.